Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and to another instalment in the Sydney Railroad build. If you're watching last time, you will have seen me build the 3-span bridge over the Molwyn River. This week I'm going to get on with something completely different. Initially I started off by building the control system cabinet, but I quickly ran into an impasse with that because I didn't have everything that I needed. So I got on with something else, and I continued with that project to a convenient breakpoint before finishing the control cabinet. Anyway, as an interesting aside, the bridge construction, the subject of last week's project, as I mentioned, was done over several weeks, meaning that much of it was very much out of sequence. And as I'm recording this introduction, I note that it was only a few days ago that I finished building that bridge, whereas everything that I'm presenting in this week's video was completed a couple of months ago. I just thought I'd throw that out there. Anyway, without further waffling, let's head out into the workshop and make some more progress. Today is June 20th and I have just had a plywood delivery, so I now have plenty of Baltic birch plywood to be going on with. I also have a whole load of custom joists that the supplier has cut for me with his CNC router. These two big stacks here are the ones that hold the harbour area and the mezzanine staging, and these joists here are the ones that go under the ethanol plant. I don't think I've got quite enough of these, but I had those cut now because they fitted in the offcuts in and around these others, making good use of the sheet. So all these pieces came out of 5 sheets of plywood with virtually no wastage. I have all the offcuts here, and most of those I'll probably end up using for risers. Anyway, my job for today is to build the control cabinet, which goes approximately where the folding table is now. But the first thing I've got to do is clear off my table saw. As you can see, all the special joists are stacked up on the outfeed table, and I need that to be able to cut some plywood. So let me get everything organized and get to work, and I'll check in with you again later. Well, I've now gone about as far as I can for today on this DCC control cabinet. The problem is I bought the wrong size draw runners. I bought 18-inch and I needed 16. So I'm going to have to return those and get 16s. But until I have those, I can't build the sliding upper shelf. So I'm going to get on with something else. I'm going to change tack. I think what I'll do is start working on the bench work for the mezzanine staging and the ramp up to the upper level. So let me get organized for that. It'll probably be tomorrow when I get back out here again, because I've still got to design it. But stay tuned, and I will check in with you again later. Well, I misspoke yesterday. I said that until I managed to exchange the draw glides for ones the right size, I was going to work on the bench work for the mezzanine staging area. And then realized, of course, that I have to build the ramp up to it before I can start that. So before I went in yesterday, I got the first 6 feet of ramp roughly in. Well, the first little bit is permanently installed. It just has extended risers up from the lower frame that bridge over the lower level ramp. I still haven't got the legs in at this end. This piece here is just a temporary L-shaped piece just to hold it at the right height. These risers are permanent. The masonite spacers are in there because I'd finished installing them and then remembered that I needed the 1/8 inch step here where I go to the thin road bed. I'm going to cut those off to the right length with the multi-saw, make those nice and neat, and then they'll be finished. Next thing I'm going to do is work on legs for this part. And we can see it's cut off here directly above this benchwork joint. And the next piece, I haven't decided yet, it might be on legs or it might be an integral frame. But I'll make that decision when I get to it. So I'm going to turn the camera off and get back to work. So stay tuned and I'll check in with you again later. Well, these legs are now cut and permanently installed. It was just a simple case of working my way down from the top, cutting each one to fit, adjusting as necessary on the miter saw. Anyway, as I was contemplating whether or not there was enough space in here to access the turnout for maintenance, I noticed that one of these tracks across the benchwork joint did not have a gap in it. I just laid it straight across the joint. So that had to be fixed. And I had no trouble at all in getting in there, even with the benchwork around it. So that proves that there is indeed plenty of space to get in there to maintain that turnout if it's ever necessary. I did decide, however, that it was prudent to drill all the holes for the feeder wires on the lower workbench junction. So I've done that. I don't necessarily have to install the wires just yet, because getting a soldering iron in there is a lot easier than getting a drill in. Anyway, with that done, I am going to continue raising this ramp over the lower junction. So let me get on with that, and I'll see you later. Stay tuned. Well, that is the rising grade, extended most of the way along the end wall. Actually, I was a little bit disappointed yesterday. I bought a brand new digital level, and I really wanted to use it for this job. But I did some experimentation and discovered that it was significantly less accurate than the bubble levels I already have. So it's back in the box, and I will return it to the store next time I go out. So a bit disappointed there. It was expensive too. I don't know if I got to spend a lot more money, or whether I got a bad one, or whether I just need to do some more research. But anyway, I'm back to using the same old levels. I just thought I'd throw that out there. Well, it's been a while since I last made a recording here, and there doesn't appear to be a lot of difference. I had to go in and work out what I needed in the way of framing for this corner area. And it's complicated in the fact that both the mezzanine staging and the upper deck need to be framed as part of the same section. So here it is under construction. The road bed that I have been doing comes in at about here, and there'll be a curve around behind the glue bottle and through that lower level, straightening up against the back, and then the ramp will continue up the back and the mezzanine staging will be in front of it. And this is the frame for the intermodal yard near the harbour. Anyway, that's about all I have time for today. It's about 6 o'clock, so I'm going to go in and get Zeus fed. And I'll come back out and continue tomorrow. See you then. Well, here is the first of the mezzanine frames almost done. It's quite complex because I'm framing up 2 levels in one go. And it was absolutely vitally important that it is absolutely square in the vertical direction, because otherwise I will not be able to get adjacent frames level. It was about a 1/16 of an inch out, so to make the adjustment, I put this offcut of 1/2 inch plywood on here with 2 screws at the bottom, and then I just gently squeezed it with a bar clamp to adjust the top. And then I put a screw in here just to hold that, and I could get rid of the bar clamp while I worked. And now that I've finished, I have put this diagonal on here, and that is going to stay there until the glue is completely set. I'm thinking I might also put a permanent gusset plate in this end, just to be safe. In which case I may as well cut it out of this piece of offcut that I have there already. So let me do that, and I will be right back. Well, I think now I am ready to get this benchwork installed. I'm going to frame in this area in situ when I figure out exactly what I need there. I think I know, but it'll be easier when it's the other way up and I can see. I already have 4 of the dwarf legs that space it up from the main staging yard. 3 of them are 6 inches, and the one in the corner is 6.5 because there is 1 less thickness of plywood there. I have laid a sheet of 1-inch foam on the track so I don't damage it. And the next thing to do is to get that benchwork turned the right way up on top of it. So let me do that and I will be right back. Well, I have the first 2 legs installed. This one has been permanently screwed in place. This one is just clamped in case I have to adjust it. Underneath I've marked both the legs and where they go, because there will be eventually 16 of them by the time I get to the far end. And most of them will look pretty much the same, even though there may be slight variations. So I want it to be easy to get them in the right places when I reassemble the railroad. Next thing I'm going to do is drag this benchwork frame on top of those legs, secure it, and then jack up the other end. So let me do that and I will be right back. Well, there it is, raised up into approximately the right location. I've got it clamped in 2 places so it doesn't fall down. Now I've got to get it adjusted and get it permanently installed. So let me do that and I will be right back. Rather than building additional frames today, I want to first get the sub-road bed in for the rising grade and the approaches to the mezzanine staging yard. Once I've done that, I may well decide that I want to go with a slightly different structure for the additional frames. This one is just a prototype, and I may well come up with a more efficient way of doing the others. I've got both of the pieces cut right now. The curve for the double track grade is resting in place. It's in the right place laterally, but it's still got to be jacked up. The other piece is on top of the frame because it's slightly too wide to go through the middle. I can't quite get it in one piece. Even by tilting it, the gap is about 1 inch too small. Now at the moment, this area is a lot wider than it needs to be. So by the time I have plotted the tracks accurately and cut that to size, I'm sure it will go through. So let me just do that and I will be right back. Well, here is most of the upper workbench junction plotted. I don't have any left-hand turnouts in stock at the moment, so I've had to turn the right-hand turnout upside down to represent a left hand. And this curved template here shows the approximate location of the route that leads in to the mezzanine staging, showing that I can actually cut quite a lot more out there. So that will thin that down at that point, and that will give me enough to get it through the hole. So I think what I can do now is take some measurements from this curve template and work on that. I'm going to go about 1/2 inch inside it, just so I got plenty of tolerance, and then I should be able to get the sub-road bed in through the hole. So let me do that and I will be right back. With those 2 pieces of sub-road bed in the right place, I can now see about what I need in the way of additional framing. I need 1 joist in about here where my arm is, and I need another one about here, but there's nothing to hang that from. Now, whereas the first one can be attached to the low-level framing under this board, there is nothing to attach this end of the other one. So what I'm going to have to do is put the upper level framing in first, filling in this gap, and then I can hang it from that. So let me get all that done and I will be right back. Well, that is all the framing that I need in this area. So I am going to take these 2 pieces of sub-road bed out one more time, get them cut accurately to length, and then I will see about getting some risers in to get the grade up to the right height and get them installed permanently. So let me get back to work and I'll check in with you later. Well, here is that corner frame with both pieces of sub-road bed permanently installed. I have the 2% rising grade at the back and the level bit in front for the staging yard. I packed it up by 3/8 of an inch because I discovered that the grade was already above the 41-inch target elevation at this point. So rather than cut it back and make adjustments, the easiest thing to do was to add spacers, which gave me room for a vertical curve in this area, and it came out perfectly. So this corner frame is done, apart from the two front legs. I still have this temporary board clamped in front. Other than that, this section is finished. I probably won't come out here tomorrow because it's Sunday, and Monday I'll be going to the store, so I'll be able to get the drawer runners for the DCC cabinet. So then Monday afternoon I will have two tasks that I can continue with. So stay tuned and I will check in with you then. The legs that have to support the front of this frame are quite simple. This portion is exactly 17 inches long because that's the height it needs to be. They're 2¼ inches wide. No reason for that number, but that's big enough to give enough cross-sectional area to support the load without being too big and cumbersome and in the way. So I have the shelf at the top that supports the frame. I've just jammed a temporary leg in here to support the end of the frame while I cut a hole through the foam rubber. I got that in the right place by getting the leg plumb and then drawing around it. Anyway, I'm now going to install this leg permanently, and this one can then be moved to its final location. So let me do that and I will be right back. This morning I was able to get to Lowe's and exchange the drawer glides for the correct length, and I have now finished the DCC cabinet. The top shelf slides out. The high back and sides are there to allow me to attach circuit boards, like the various control systems, like the PM74s, I think they are. And there'll probably also be some BDL 168s mounted in this cabinet, also along the back. The top shelf will be for all the boosters and the command station, and the bottom shelf will be for the power supplies. The bottom shelf is a lot higher up than I would normally build it. That's because it has to clear the access doors for the sump pump in the basement floor. Anyway, the next thing I've got to do is get that into its correct location, which is over here. Now there's two ways of doing it. I can either clear those tools off that piece of foam, get it up on there, and then go around the other side and lift it off, or I can haul it all the way around the end and over my stack of plywood. Neither way is particularly easy. This is probably a lot less work, but it also comes with some risk if I mess it up. I think I'm going to have to haul it the whole length of the workshop and lift it over the plywood. I don't want to take a chance on damaging the track. Although with the foam there, that risk is small, it's still more of a risk than I want to take. So let me turn the camera off and haul this cabinet into location, and I will be right back. Well, there is the cabinet in approximately the right place. I've got to go in and take some measurements, or at least look on the drawing to see where the cover is, work out exactly where it's going to go. But for the time being, that is close enough. I used the two-wheel dolly to make a tough job into a much easier job. Well, that's all for this week. Hope you enjoyed the video and found it interesting or useful or both, and I hope to see you back next week, where I will continue with framing up the mezzanine staging area. And the main reason that I want to get that done at this stage is that benchwork is all necessary to support the control panels that I want to build for the staging yards that I've already constructed. So I'm just going to say goodbye for now, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.